Some movies are highbrow, some movies are lowbrow.
Welcome to Highbrow Lowbrow. I'm your host, Josh Kirschenbaum.
I'm Cooper Gagan.
Each week we pick a topic and talk about two movies that fit that topic, one highbrow, one lowbrow. This week the topic is
Drums.
Maybe our most tangible topic so far.
You could touch a drum.
Yeah, I mean, mostly our concepts are like types of movies or ideas. I guess aliens, the concept of alien, but that's more conceptual. A drum is not a concept, it's an instrument.
Although I will say with these two movies, they actually do have more in common than just drums. It is
Yes.
A lot of it is just about like sacrificing for art, specifically music.
Yeah, I think we could easily say that the topic is intense drumming.
Yeah.
It is the aspiring to be the greatest drummer ever.
Yeah.
Is the theme. Anyway, the movies are, on the highbrow side, is Whiplash, the 2014 Damien, Chazelle, Miles Teller movie. And on the lowbrow side, we've got Drumline, the Nick Cannon classic from the early aughts. Was it 2002, 2001, something like that?
It's 2002.
That's okay. This seems like a good opportunity for you to tell us a little bit about these movies.
All right. Andrew Neiman is a first-year student at a fancy music school where he gets invited to join the studio band run by the tyrannical and abusive Fletcher. Eventually, Fletcher kicks him out of the band, which makes Andrew lose it and attack him. Andrew gets expelled and, at his dad's insistence, rats out on Fletcher to a lawyer. Much later, Andrew runs into Fletcher, who reveals that he was fired shortly after Andrew left. Fletcher invites Andrew to join his band for a jazz festival. When Andrew gets on stage, Fletcher reveals that the whole thing was a setup to humiliate him. Andrew fights back by refusing to leave the stage and cueing in the band himself. Eventually, this leads to a super long drum solo, which finally wins Fletcher over. Whiplash was released in 2014. It was written and directed by Damien Chazelle.
That was good. I think you did a good job there.
I'm trying so hard.
I know.
I'm getting so far.
It's so hard. Especially a movie like Whiplash, where like the plot is kind of like it's just them yelling at each other in the studio room.
90% of it is just J.K. Simmons being a total asshole to Miles Teller.
Like the only accurate plot description of this movie would be us reenacting the "Are you rushing? Are you dragging?" scene right now in its entirety, and then people would just understand that movie like to their souls.
And go.
No. I have very low self-esteem.
Can I be J.K. Simmons?
Just watching that scene makes me feel bad about myself.
Because then I get to slap you.
I'm gonna talk about Drumline now.
All right.
Drumline. Here's what happens in Drumline. Devin graduates high school and gets recruited to play drums at Atlanta A&T, an HBCU known for its marching band. Devin immediately clashes with Shawn, the percussion leader, just because he's got a lot of attitude and stuff. Shawn uncovers that Devin can't read music, which makes him get demoted to the bottom tier of the Drumline. Dr. Lee, the band director, is forced to let Devin play the homecoming game, where Devin gets into a fight with the opposing band and gets kicked out of the Drumline. Devin and Shawn bury the hatchet. They work together to come up with a new performance for an upcoming battle of the bands. In return, Dr. Lee promises to allow him to return to the band the following year. The band ties for first with their rival school, which by band law can only be resolved with a head-to-head drumline battle, which Dr. Lee lets Devin compete in, which they win. And they win the competition, and they win everything, and Drumline was released in 2002. It was written by Tina Gordon Chisholm and Shawn Schepps, and directed by Charles Stone III. Not the second, not the fourth. The 3 is the best Charles Stone.
Yeah, it's the sweet spot. And you forgot the most important detail, which is that Orlando Jones was in Evolution, and that's a great movie.
You're right. That is the most important details. Orlando Jones, who is in Drumline, was also in Evolution, which is perfect. It's a perfect film. It's like, sometimes you read a Roger Ebert review and he's like, Fargo, perfect film. I don't know that he said that about Evolution, but like that's the tier of movie.
Yeah, that's the level of prestige we're dealing with.
Oh yeah, exactly. I wouldn't say right off the bat, one thing I'm very excited for this week is that I like both of these movies.
Yeah, right out the gate, Drumline is good.
Drumline's a good movie. Whiplash is a great movie. I think, in the last couple of weeks we had some movies that made us angry.
Yeah.
Some movies that were bad in ways that were confounding or associated with problematic people. And this time we just got, well, there are still some problematic people. We'll get to that in a second. But these are both good movies that I like.
This is the first time I've just out and out liked both movies. I will say like...
Alien, I guess you don't like Aliens.
Oh, no, yeah, I don't love... Aliens is good, but I don't like it for some reasons. But like this one, I just am on board. I will say that Whiplash is like an exceptionally good, like top tier, like special movie, and Drumline is a good movie.
Right. I don't think Drumline is very. I would say it's weird because I'm sort of grading on the curve of that, of what it is. I think it's like a very specific kind of thing, but I also think Drumline's like better. I think it's bad. It hits above its weight.
And I think you go into it expecting it to not age well because it's like a 2002 Nick Cannon vehicle.
Right. And Nick Cannon, I think we associate now with more like, oh, he was like the face of Nickelodeon for a while. He was the host of Yo Mama or some weird MTV.
Something like that. He's the Masked Singer.
Right. The Masked Singer
right
host. So you think like, oh, I'm not going to associate him with like a good, just like a good mass appeal melodrama.
Yeah. And that time period, there are a lot of these kind of movies where the main character is like trying too hard to be kind of badass and like trying to like play, like be against the system. And you're getting a little bit of that from his character, Devin. Although they do start with that great shot of like the graduation ceremony. He's the one leaning back. And that's how you immediately know that he's different.
And that's like just great filmmaking.
That's just great. That's like a scene, like in 2 seconds establishes what the whole movie's about.
Right. And like that, so I saw that and I was already like, okay, I think this movie's actually going to be like great. Cause I was sort of putting off watching this one. Cause I knew Whiplash, obviously one of my favorite movies the last, decade. And Drumline I hadn't seen since I was a kid because I played drums in elementary school when it came out, or elementary school, middle school. So I was like, okay, it was a big deal for the drum kids.
Yeah.
But I'm like, it's probably just going to be like, fine, kind of fun and memorable, a little bit dated, and it's good. It's just top to bottom a good movie.
Yeah, I remember liking it at the time, and then like kind of as a bit, if it ever came up, I'd be like, yeah, Drumline's a good movie. And then I watched it last year and was like, oh, this is actually good. But I think I was watching it with another person, so I was like a little self-conscious about whether they were enjoying it. So I was like, gave it like a 3-star. And this time I watched it just by myself, was able to fully enjoy it. I was like, this movie's just really good.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things about it. I mean, it's funny. I think it's well acted. I think it's like, I think it's very emotional.
Yeah,
I think it's a very smart choice here that it doesn't act like anything it's doing is ridiculous, which it isn't. But it's like they're obsessed with these drums and marching band things, and the movie is just like, yeah, this is the most important thing in the world because these people is the most important thing in the world to these characters.
Yeah, and also like there's certain times when like you think it's going to zig and it zags. Like the way that it handles his relationship with Zoe Saldana is actually like a very interesting relationship. It's very kind of just like they're just in a good relationship. He like wins her over. Like he's kind of like a dick in the beginning, and she like tells him how to not be a dick, and he just listens to that and does that, and he wins her over.
Classic character arc.
Yeah, and then like later on, he's the one who, it's like the reverse of like the typical rom-com thing where like he breaks up with her because she isn't like accepting him for who he is. Mm-hmm. Whereas like normally I feel like the climax of the romantic plot line would be her like breaking up with him because he gets in trouble, and then him having to win her over by solving the A plot. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't really work that way.
Right. The romance part of the movie wasn't something I was like super responding to in it. I mean, it's fine. I do like, I agree with everything you said that it's the movie deals with it in a pretty smart way.
Yeah.
I think it's not manipulative, which a lot of times these movies can be.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, when it hits the beats, it's not the beat. Sometimes a movie like Drumline that does try and stick to a pretty specific kind of arc.
Yeah.
It hits a certain beat and you're just like, okay, you're just doing that because you're supposed to do that this time.
Yeah, and she doesn't exist solely as an engine to change him. It seems like their relationship kind of exists parallel to the main plot, but it isn't just there to service it.
Right. I mean, and you kind of see that in a lot of parts of the movie. I mean, I think...
Well, there's a lot going on in this movie.
It's a very busy movie. There's a lot of characters.
Like, I will say, there's a lot of characters. They all have their own thing going on, and it all pays off.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I will say that there's always a lot of stuff while it's good. It's not like there's not like a huge payoff on it. I think it like adds to the movie. And
yeah, I was thinking where it's like you got the affirmative action. I don't remember the character's actual name.
Right. The school they go to is a predominantly black school, possibly an HBCU, but I think
they say it's an HBCU.
Yeah, and then there's one white boy. For lack of a better term.
Yeah.
Who in the school who's just like, they just call him affirmative action. It's very funny.
Yeah. And they like have a scene where they address it.
Yeah.
He has this really funny line where he's like, I love black people. He's like, no, I actually have like a reason for being here.
Yeah. It's very good. And there's a lot of little things like that. Like I feel like the characters are all like characters. I don't know. I feel like this is like a lot of soft praise, but like it's a movie that like you kind of expect it to be bad. I don't know, just because it's like it kind of flirts with these various tropes you expect, but it's also like well acted and well written, and it's a good story, well told. Not much else you can say.
I was impressed by how many balls it kept in the air with all the like. It has a lot of characters. Like Orlando Jones has his own plot line. Mm-hmm. Like the affirmative action has his own plot line. The drum leader has his own plot line about how he's kind of become like egomaniacal because he's a leader, and he, like that kind of pays off. And like he and Orlando Jones have a relationship outside of the main character that we get to see.
Yeah, I want to talk about that guy, the leader of the Drumline, basically.
Shawn.
You're right, Shawn. So he is he's great, and there's some of that's a little bit expected, but what I like about that character is, and something I like about the whole movie, is just like how incredibly dramatic it is.
Yeah.
It's so dramatic to the point, like every time anyone does anything related to the Drumline, it is the biggest deal in the world, and it is shot like it's the biggest deal in the world. Like when I think Orlando Jones goes to Shawn and is like, well, you know, like, why are you doing this? Like being hard on him. He's like, I have to protect. It's like, it's my job to protect the line.
Yes.
like he's like on like the wall of like fucking Gondor or something.
Yeah.
And obviously this is like a big deal. It's the marching band, they go through a lot of work to say, like, you know, this is a very prestigious part of the school. It's a very part of a prestigious culture of these kind of marching bands. But like, there's still no reason to do your auditions in the middle of a football field with like the lights, dramatic lighting. In it.
Yeah,
Like,
I know.
But it's so great.
It's great. And like, I love the thing of the upperclassmen being there, giving their notes on everything in like an interesting way.
Yeah, it's just good stuff.
Yeah.
You know,
I will say the like self-importance of the Drumline, I feel like a lot of that comes from, I was very entertained by how a lot of this kind of feels like soldier cosplay.
Oh yeah.
Because like their training camp is like a boot camp, like very specifically, like they're doing squats in the rain and they're like doing burpees and push-up stuff. They're all like lined up like they're soldiers.
Which supposedly that's one of the more realistic part of the movie.
And that makes sense because like a marching band, it comes from military marching bands. That's why they wear their little outfits that kind of look like soldier uniforms.
Also, you actually just need to be in shape to be in a marching band and to do all the different dancing and stuff. I reached out to a friend of mine who was a camp counselor with me, who was just the greatest dude. His name's Rodell, and he helped me out with all my questions. And yeah, he said like all that stuff, you need to work on your core strength and your like conditioning, because all that stuff, like, and your balance. Like a lot of my first note when I was watching this movie was like, this is a marching band. Why are they doing push-ups? All we do is we'll see them do push-ups. They never see them play the drums. They're just like doing burpees and shit. And then and every time it's like, yeah, then that's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Like if you're carrying a big bass drum, like marching around in a formation, you got to be in shape.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to dance at all.
Yeah.
And let alone like a giant bass drum swinging and then stopping at a dime and swinging back and forth.
It is so funny seeing them do their little battle with the bass drums, because it's like so goofy seeing them try to dance. And also his like when he's practicing, he's got his little like butt wiggle going on.
A little hip, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a part of the movie I love. The challenges.
I know, but that was really funny because like he's got his little butt wiggle, and then like Nick Cannon's like, oh, that's not how you dance with like a bass drum. And then later on they show him dancing with the bass drum. Like, this is not that different.
Yeah. And the bass drum's a specifically weird one, I feel like, just because it's a big, it's kind of it's big and silly.
Yeah.
If he was also on the snare, which I guess they couldn't because the snare plot was owned by Nick Cannon and Shawn.
The snare is the sexiest of the marching band drums.
Yes, but also I want to say a point I want to make, and I want to get back to later, is drums are cool.
Yeah.
That is my biggest note of this movie, was that first I'm like, Drumline, my note was like, wow, this movie makes drumming seem really cool. And then I watched Whiplash and I'm like, maybe drums are just cool. Maybe I just associated them as more of a nerdy thing because like I was a big dork and I play the drums, but maybe just like drumming is just an objectively cool thing.
I mean, rock band drumming is very cool.
Yeah.
For sure.
Although it is also the most mockable of
because a drummer almost can't be a front man.
Right.
Because they are just physically in the back and they have this giant kit and they can't really sing.
Right.
So maybe there's like one band. I'm pretty sure there's like a stat. There's like one band that has a frontman drummer, but it's almost impossible.
There's like, there's like Levon Helm in the band. Like he was one of the singers.
Yeah.
He was a drummer. There's like some metal bands where like, they're not like the frontmen, but like they're known as like kind of the force.
Yeah. I mean, like Neil Peart is like
Peart's a big one.
The most famous drummer probably.
Yeah. But you're right. Like they're in the back. And I don't know. They're just known as being silly and dumb.
Yeah.
Like, the whole joke in The Commitments. Did you see The Commitments?
No.
Great movie. It's about a bunch of Irish working class people who start like a blues band.
Oh, fun.
And the whole joke in that is like the drummer quits because he hates the lead singer, so they just get like the meanest asshole in the bar and just like give him his 2 sticks and it's like, yeah, here's what you do, just hit these things. He's like, this is great.
He's just Animal from
essentially, yes, but Irish and bald and mean. It's great. I think just drumming, like all the scenes of drumming in Drumline and in Whiplash are just get you, maybe just I think drumming is cool, but they just get you just freaking amped.
Yeah, no, I think it's really, I mean, I always thought drumming was pretty cool. But it is like, it does feel like the least complex of the instruments in like a band.
Yeah.
Because like, I mean, when you're looking at like the sheet of music for them, it's just like one note. Like they only has one note.
Yeah. I mean, it is the fact that it's more accessible in terms of like you understand just moment to moment how the sound is made. You take stick, you hit object, stick makes object sound.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, if you're looking at a trumpet, like you get it like, in terms of you blow air into it and manipulate it, but it's basically fucking magic.
Yeah.
How that's actually happening. Or same with the guitar, you know, you don't internalize that a string getting flicked makes that noise necessarily.
And also there's like the whole kind of like, there's like chord progressions and like melody structure and like kind of more complex musical stuff happening. Mm-hmm. Whereas like drumming, I'm sure has a lot of complex stuff, but
it's like different stuff.
Yeah.
But drumming is awesome and really difficult and super freaking cool.
Yeah. I will also say, not only are these movies both about drumming, they're about drumming in like particularly uncool genres.
Yes,
like,
that is a good point.
Jazz drumming, I would have never thought that I would be this into a movie about jazz drumming. Like
Right.
I remember when it came out, I was like, there's no way I want to see this movie because like I don't particularly like jazz at all. And then marching band, I don't know, it's fine. I don't find it interesting as music. The formations are cool and stuff, but like as music, I don't love it. But then, yeah, these movies really make it very exciting. Although it is funny when you like cut to them playing the music and like they're being so intense about this music in Whiplash, and then they're playing just like these like jazz standards that are like not very high intensity.
Well, we think of them as not high intensity, but if you ever like listen to those old jazz standards, especially when they have like major drummers on them, they really do go absolutely fucking bug nuts.
Well, that is my whole problem with jazz. It is that is the highest effort for the lowest payoff of music. It's like, I mean, especially with like improvised jazz, it's like improv comedy, where like improv comedy is so insanely hard to do, and the output is usually okay.
I will say I like jazz, but I do acknowledge that it's like a very niche thing. You have to go to it with like, it's not. I will never like be flipping through my music and be like, oh, I'll do that jazz song. I have to specifically be like, I'm in a jazz mood. I want to like adjust my brain accordingly.
Yeah.
To be able to listen to that, because it's just, it does a different thing than, you know, verse chorus, bridge chorus.
Yeah, and then but I will say when I tell people who like jazz that I don't like jazz, they're often talking about how hard it is to do as a justification for why it's impressive, which is the same thing I hear people talk about improv comedy, which is basically that like it's like grading on a curve because it's very hard.
Yeah, that's not something I particularly care about. It's the thing of like guitar nerds. There's this thing online, like just like a lot of like people who are famous like being guitarists.
Yeah.
Dads they're all dads who are like into guitars are like, oh, like all these freaking rock stars don't know how to actually play guitars, and here's like the best actual guitar solo, not, you know, Jimi Hendrix or David Gilmour. It's like one of those, and like, but like the appeal of the music isn't that it's difficult to do, it's that it's effective at all. Like if you directed a movie with wearing a giant metal scuba suit, that would be really hard. I still need the movie to be good.
Yeah, this is like an argument I get into about like abstract expressionism all the time, which is like people being like, well, I could do that. I'm like, the point of art is not how hard it is to make. It is like what the art itself is doing.
Right.
Which is that like, it doesn't matter that it's like a canvas that is one color and that's like in theory not hard to physically make. It's like all of the like effort that goes into that and all the like mental effort that goes into it.
Yeah, I will say if the people you're talking to about jazz, I would not say I'm an expert in jazz at all. I listen to my brother is he's not like a professional pianist, but he is like brilliant and he practices. He's practiced multiple times a week for like 20 years.
Yeah.
So he's very into jazz. My mom and dad are very into jazz. And so I've been around it and I listen to it sometimes. And I will say, if you're talking to people who are saying, you know, jazz is good because it's hard, those people are like, I mean, you can't be wrong about art, but like, I think that's not what's appealing. It's appealing is that it's interesting music.
I also might be interpreting what they're saying a little biased.
Maybe. I mean, we're talking about a straw man right there, essentially. But I think I like that jazz is inaccessible.
Yes,
absolutely,
for sure.
For culturally, and just because you kind of need to, from my understanding, and I'm sure all the jazz fan contingent of our massive fan base is going to get on me about this.
Yeah.
But a lot of jazz is, I remember the whole idea was you kind of need to know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because it's, I listened to like a masterclass.
Much
thing
like
on it.
improv.
You need to know that it's improvisation plus syncopation is
what
jazz is. And if you know what standards they're riffing on, it's very impressive what they're doing, and that's like an extra thing. And I'm not nearly there, but I can still listen to a jazz thing and like appreciate the cool little like beeps and bops.
Yeah, for sure.
It's all about the beeps and bops.
This is literally the exact same thing that improv nerds will talk about for why improv is good.
I mean, you're the only improv nerd I know. I wouldn't just say
I'm not an improv nerd. I took some improv classes.
I actually do have some friends not in LA who are very into improv and like who are like comedy. I guess
I am a comedy nerd.
I think there's probably a lot of overlap between jazz nerds and like comedy nerds.
I think, yeah.
Who are like really impressed with like the art, the process of comedy. Like people who are super into like Andy Kaufman.
Yeah,
and,
like alt
Stephen Wright.
comedy, anti-comedy.
They're basically jazz
very
heads.
similar, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So an idea for next week's episode, just alt like comedy movies about comedians.
Yeah.
Movies
What's the Andy Kaufman movie?
The Man on the Moon.
Yeah.
Man on the Moon.
Yeah.
The one
like
with
that.
Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the lowbrow is
Like a Bobcat Goldthwait movie.
I don't know. I guess funny people is trying to be highbrow. I don't know. There's got to be a lowbrow movie about a stand-up comedian, right?
Oh, yeah.
Or just about comedy in general.
Yeah.
I don't know. Studio 60. No, 30 Rock. We just watch all of 30 Rock.
Down. Let's do it. And then the other thing about complaining about how on the face of it, everything they're doing with Whiplash is very lame is that not only are they doing jazz, which is fine.
Yeah.
We'll just like leave that behind. We already talked about it. They're doing jazz competitions, and like music competitions are super duper lame because like they even say it in the movie where he's like, how can you have a competition? It's subjective. And it's kind of like, I don't know, right? Doing music for a competition is like, in my mind, like antithetical to like the point of music.
So I read all of that as if they're like industry shows. Like when you like, you know, when like GM builds a car that like they know they're going to sell just to prove they can do certain things.
Yeah.
Like I saw that whole plotline as, you know, like this is like a thing for these music competitions are not like, are only for the world of this specific kind of music. And it's basically kind of like a proving path.
Yeah,
for these musicians to then get recruited into like bands and things.
Yeah, I mean, it's very similar to how you and I are writers and will submit to screenwriting competitions.
Yeah.
Like we don't care about winning the screenwriting competition. Although if you win,
It's
just
nice.
that if you win, it's good for your career.
Yeah. Although I will say the other difference is that, you know, when we're submitting as just, you know, we're us. I wouldn't say we're nobodies, but we're not somebodies. Whereas, you know, in Whiplash, they're already in like, it seems like the prestigious schools are all inputting their bands. And like, so there's like this very high stake. It's actually very similar to the Battle of the Bands in Drumline.
Yeah.
Which real thing.
Yeah.
Although I think it is now sponsored by Honda instead of BET. From what I could tell. I Googled it.
Yeah. Because in the end credits, they just have like B-roll of the bands. Are those real bands?
Not sure.
Could be.
Yeah. Yeah. We are not people who do a ton of research on the movies.
No.
Just what we find interesting.
Yeah.
Drumline, very good movie. Very cool movie. I want to talk about Orlando Jones because Orlando Jones is fucking awesome in this movie.
He's great.
And I want to talk about Orlando Jones in contrast to J.K. Simmons.
Yeah.
Because leaving aside the characters for a second, like they're both playing like hard ass traditionalist like instructors.
They are kind of very similar in terms of their view on music, but not their teaching style.
Well, I would say Fletcher, the J.K. Simmons character, doesn't seem to have a take on what music is good, only on that if you're going to play it, it needs to be absolutely perfect. Because even at the end, he played the upswinging, like the thing he uses to get Andrew is, he says like a new piece and he's comfortable playing that.
Yeah.
He doesn't, I think that's sort of what makes him particularly monstrous is that he doesn't seem to care about music.
Yeah.
To him, it's all about this precision and anything. He doesn't ever seem to actually be happy that music is cool, except to talk about Charlie Parker.
Yeah.
And it's only in terms of to justify his own like cruelty.
Yeah. Like they don't ever really talk about music as an art form. They talk about it as like a test of skills.
Yeah. I think it's in the background of Whiplash a little bit in, you know, Andrew has the video of him playing as a kid. He has the poster of Buddy Rich. It seems like there was this spark of like genuine passion in him, and that the movie. I mean, I think the movie keeps Andrew a little bit at a distance. That's a movie thing that's very interesting about it. But if you read it comfortably, like maybe there was this spark of love and joy for it, and just the pursuit of it just crushed it, which I think is, you know, people say working in the film industry can hurt your love of movies. I think that's, you know, seeing how the sausage gets made in any context might hurt that. I think that's a really interesting theme that Whiplash is doing.
And also they are people who are not necessarily aspiring to be like songwriters.
Right.
They're aspiring to be like very good like studio musicians, basically.
Right, or to be playing in like Lincoln Center, basically.
Yeah.
Which is like a very insanely difficult thing to do with a high level of prestige and a very low level of like cultural validation.
Yeah.
Like they're doing it for this belief in greatness. So when I was watching with Jess today, she mentioned that this movie reminded her a lot of The Social Network.
Yeah, well, the scene where he breaks up with his girlfriend is very similar to Social Network.
Yeah.
But I will say it's different in that he actually, I think, has a good reason for breaking up with her that he outlines, I mean, in a very blunt, insulting way, but in a way that he's actually right. Like, I agree with him on his move to break up with that girl.
I do agree with him that's the right thing for him. I think, though, he frames it as a way that's obviously... Yeah, like, we're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
But the smart thing... I love that scene so much. It's like... The way he says, like, you would stop me from getting greatness. He doesn't frame it as, I don't have time for this. He's like... There's this kind of casual disrespect he has for her.
Yes.
It comes out in the scene where she mentioned she went to Fordham just because she wanted to go to a school, and that just, like, breaks his brain.
Yeah.
Like, what are you trying to do?
Yeah, and he's not even trying to insult her, much like Social Network. Like, he doesn't, I mean, because they're both kind of like a little bit spectrum-y, but...
Well, Social Network has the same line where she says like, oh, I'm busy. It's like, you're not busy, you go to Boston University.
Yeah.
And it's just like the most casually insulting thing, because in his brain, it's just like, it's this technocrat, like tech bro-y, like, oh, you do thing to get, like, to accomplish task to get result. And it's just like, oh, yes, go to school for a thing to get money, instead of... go to a school to learn things, become a more well-rounded human.
Yeah. But the funny thing is, like, him explaining why it would be a bad choice for them to continue dating. It is because, like, he himself would not be able to help being resentful of her. I mean, he's right, but it's only because of his behavior. Right.
I mean, it's maybe the only time
he's being pretty self-aware.
It's one of the very few times we're saying it's not you, it's me is correct.
Yeah.
He's basically saying, like, look, I'm about to become an obsessive monster. You got to back away.
Yeah.
And she's, I think, rightly hurt that he hasn't been there anyway. And yeah, I think that the keying in on that part where she says, like, you think I would stop you from getting great?
And he's like, precisely.
Right. The correct response, like, oh, I don't mean that you're not great. I just mean that I'm pursuing this thing pretty intensely and I don't have a relationship. Like, it's such a basic human thing that he just fails to do.
Yeah.
I think...
Yeah, he definitely... Okay, yeah. He definitely is not doing this in the right way, in a way that is humane to her. But I think what he is doing is actually the right decision, weirdly.
Right. I think he is so fascinating, especially comparing him to Zuckerberg in The Social Network. Because Social Network, Zuckerberg, it kind of makes the case that Zuckerberg, as a character, as a person, I don't know, whatever, like, is kind of driven by this resentment that he's not cool, basically.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of it out of just like frustration, like wanting women to like him. A lot of it out of just this general thing of like, oh, all the cool kids are doing this and I'm not that. And like, that's his chip on his shoulder. Whereas Andrew obviously has a chip on his shoulder too, but it seems to be about something weirdly more specific.
Well, he doesn't seem to care about his like kind of, well, no, because there's the dinner scene where he does care about what other people think about him.
Well, he cares. He just thinks they're wrong, and they're like, they don't understand how great he is. It's not. Yeah. It definitely does get on his case when they're ripping on him, but it feels like that's not what's driving him more. I think he really. I mean, a lot of it's wrapped up in his dad, who is like a failed writer.
Yeah,
and he wants to like be the successful artist in the family.
Yeah.
It's just he's so ambitious and so unlikable sometimes.
Yeah. And the difference between how those two movies approach his viewpoint on being an artist, you can definitely look at it by where in the movie the breakup scene happens.
Yeah.
Because in The Social Network, it's like the first scene, right?
Yeah.
And in this one, it's late in Act 2.
Yeah, it's like halfway through the movie. Yeah. It's so interesting. Like, because I was saying, a lot of people find him super unlikable, and that's one, I think, talking highbrow, lowbrow, like having a main character be this off-putting is a highbrow move.
For sure.
Whereas Drumline very effectively, works to get you on Nick Cannon's side immediately.
Yeah, I did often find him unlikable, but I don't think the movie is. I think that's because he's trying to be a little too cool, which is kind of like a metatextual problem with him. Yeah,
I mean, it's like he's intentionally frustrating. Like the plot, he's the wild kid with the talent, and it's fucking, I don't know, any sports movie has the same.
For sure.
Drumline is essentially a sports movie, and a very good one, I think. What were you saying? Andrew being a piece of shit?
Oh, he's very unlikable.
Yes, which I think is a super fascinating decision. And like, I don't know, I really felt for him because I think you see what his drive is.
Yeah.
And that like maybe there was a kid in there who like could have been better. I don't know. I can't say there's ever a moment where, like, it's not like the movie starts out like he's this good kid and he ends this piece of shit. It's just he's sort of this complicated, broken, driven figure, and this like monster in Fletcher like hooks him at the right moment. You know? I mean, we should dig into the big controversy of Whiplash, which is, you know, a lot of people are saying like it sends a bad message, basically.
Yeah. Well, I will say, like, the first time I saw it, I definitely empathized with J.K. Simmons' character more, in that I was like, yeah, sometimes you have to push people. Like, I was like, he is like going too far, but his idea is right, that you have to push people. Right.
You have to work hard and demand greatness to get greatness.
And like, and that like him thinking that is a noble ideal, while he is like, it's basically, I think when I first saw it, I thought like his execution is wrong, but the idea is right and actually noble. And now seeing it again, after having been in the entertainment industry for a long time, I was kind of just like, fuck this guy. He's just like a little man who needs to like exert power on people.
Well, that's the thing, is that I think what's scary and interesting about Whiplash is that the idea that you only way to achieve this next level of greatness is to essentially destroy your life to get it, and to be abused in this way and to like cut everyone else out who's not going to let you do this.
Which I do kind of agree with.
Yes. I mean, I think that's like very close. It's an uncomfortable truth.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes it really effective. I think where Whiplash runs into controversy is that idea is more often used as an excuse for unneeded cruelty, than it is used to actually create greatness. I think every abusive boss or every selfish, shitty person who thinks they're Fletcher is actually just shitty and small.
Yeah, well, because I think that is true, that like it's true that you need to like sacrifice for greatness, but I think that should be a result of self-sacrifice, not people like exacting like punishment on you.
Right. I mean, like Fletcher giving this incredible drive to Andrew to achieve that greatness, just even as much as it cost Andrew, is something that he's giving to. It's a gift. It's a weird spiky gift, but he is giving it to him. Whereas so many of these like kind of terrible bosses are people who are just like, who think that these guys are not actually helping you. They're just being like yelling at someone for getting your coffee wrong is not going to make them a better writer. If you're like a assistant writer, same with a director or a musician or anything. It's a specific mentorship or coaching thing, really.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same even within his like how he carries out that idea, is like punishing him for being late and like not helping him when he is injured from being in a car accident is like just the purely vindictive side.
Yeah.
Whereas like swapping out the drummers and making him like basically like having a bake off with these drummers is a version that is presumably driving him to greatness.
Right. I guess Fletcher's idea is that if you give them this incredibly precise discipline, it will create results.
Yeah.
But I think what he's doing is just, like I said, it's justifying his own. In a way, I think what he's doing could be almost what Andrew's doing. He just needs that validation. Like he's devoted his whole life to believing that he was the best at creating a true artist.
Yeah.
And I noticed this in the movie this time because he even tells Andrew, I never had a Charlie Parker.
Yeah,
like,
which is very interesting.
Yeah, he's like, I believe that I had to do this to create another Charlie Parker, and it never happened.
Yeah, and empirically has not worked.
And he never gets introspective about that.
Yeah.
He never says, well, maybe it was wrong. His thing is like, oh, but still, I'm the only one who can do it.
Yeah.
You know, it's this very weird thing, and that's why I think the end of the movie, this time watching it, I think it's like my third time seeing the movie, I think that like, is Fletcher, I think that Andrew's obviously meant to be a great drummer, but like how much of Fletcher buying in at the end is him wanting to believe like, okay, because if Andrew's great, it justifies Fletcher's shit.
Yeah.
You know, is he just trying to justify himself as well? And like part of that relationship, is he buying into his own weird thing? Or is Andrew genuinely great? You know, is the movie being ambiguous about that?
I guess part of it is maybe him. It's also tied in with him successfully pushing back against him. Like he found the one way to fight him, which nobody else has ever been able to do.
I mean, that last scene is just fucking
it's so
fireworks.
Good.
I mean, that's drumming is cool. Good drumming is cool. That scene is so long.
I know.
It's like 15 minutes of just him drumming like a maniac, and it's amazing.
Yeah, it's really good.
Anyway, we're talking about Orlando Jones because I do want to talk about Orlando Jones. He's really good in this movie.
He's great.
He's great. He's a good actor. I love him in The Replacements. I love him in Evolution.
Evolution is great.
It's a very fun movie.
Yeah. I think maybe David Duchovny is the actual MVP of Evolution, but Orlando Jones is a close second.
Honestly, I think the main three in that movie is all pretty. I mean, Sean William Scott's doing a Sean William Scott thing. It's very good. Also, shout out to Sean William Scott for Goon because the movie's great and it's a weird, cool performance.
Yeah.
And David Duchovny's good and Orlando Jones is good. And if you haven't ever seen American Gods, Orlando Jones's speech where he first enters the show as like a Nancy, Mr. Nancy, is so good. It's like he's on like a slave ship and he's just like, he's like an old African god and he just gives this like such a scenery chewing thing. Like it really felt like they just like, hey, Orlando Jones, can you just do a fucking ton of acting real quick?
And he's like, you know what? Nobody ever asked.
And I think Drumline lets him do it.
Yeah.
I think
he's doing some really good little physical acting. Like when you first see him listening to it's like Fly the Bumblebee or something, and you see he has his eyes closed, he's kind of moving his head, and he's like just really into it. And it's like just a really good subtle acting move. Yeah, that's great.
And I mean, I agree with you. Like there's a lot of subtle stuff like that, but I also like that they let him do big. Like they let the movie be like, yeah, okay, like he's this demanding old school drumline leader, or I guess he's the leader of the whole band.
But he does appear to have been a drummer because he drums. Like,
you're right.
There's a scene. I was thinking about that because like there's a scene where he shows up Devin because he's drumming on his drum and he starts walking backwards and Devin can't deal with it. Mm-hmm. But that means he must have been a snare drummer.
It just means he knows how to play drums.
Yeah, but I mean,
a lot of band leaders, a lot of people can play multiple instruments. It doesn't mean he's good enough at drums to be like a professional snare drummer, but it just means he's familiar with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
I mean, and also I don't know, it's Drumline.
No, I didn't not a criticism. I was just like, oh, this is interesting. I was like, it's interesting if the band leader also happened to be part of this group.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that was in there. I will say, the one thing that did bug me about the movie in regards to Orlando Jones is that his arc just sort of ends. His whole thing is he believes in the classics. Like we should be playing old school, stuff, and all these kids.
Although then he does put in Earth, Wind, and Fire, which is not actually old school in the world of like classical music.
I think that's what he means. I don't think when he says old school, I had that thing too, and then just Earth, Wind, and Fire. I think he just means older music. Like,
right, but that's he's definitely getting into is like he's just likes music from when he was young as opposed to quote the classics.
Right, I agree. Well, to him, those are the classics. I think,
right.
Or maybe in the context of marching bands. Or halftime marching band performances, which I will not claim to be an expert on.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right, so like his whole thing is like, okay, he's too old school. He doesn't like the new school.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Cannon is new school, doesn't respect the old school, and at the end they do a little bit of old
remix
school and a little bit of new school. And the scene where there's this whole arc of the dean of the school wants him to sell out and do this kind of stuff, and like but it's not about the art,
Right.
Like the incredible scene where they're at the Morris Brown game and the opposing band like during the game like just plays some like hip new song, and he says hit him with the flight of the bumblebee.
That was so funny.
Like it's a battle, like it's a fucking Pokemon move.
Yeah, and that he clearly thinks that is like a killer move.
I know, it's because it's a really hard. I remember when I saw it as a kid, I'm like, wow, that's a really hard piece. But like,
yeah, no, and then I was watching, I was like, honestly, I'm more into Flight of the Bumblebee than I am like whatever hip hop song they were playing. Like it is actually more technically impressive, and Orlando Jones is right.
But now you're being that asshole jazz guy you imagined in terms of like, oh, you like it because it's hard to play.
Yes,
you've become that which you imagined you hate.
But also because hip hop music played by a band sounds like hot wet garbage. And Fly the Bumblebee sounds good because it is designed for a band.
So he just sort of like when it's time for the movie for him to just meet in the middle, he does. You know, Nick Cannon and the band leader Shawn, they come to him like, we're friends now. We've solved your plot for you, and it works. He
just has to say yes, basically.
Yes, and again, that's the lowbrow of it. And I think when I was watching Drumline first, I had the thought, why is this the lowbrow one? Because it's a drama. It's like a straightforward human drama, but it is very much, it's hitting certain expected beats. It asks a lot of you in these little like things that it does,
and it is trying to be very fun. It's got a lot of jokes.
Yeah,
it's got Nick Cannon.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, the thing working so hard to make you like the main character. That's a little more lowbrow. Like the stuff where like suddenly Orlando Jones is like, oh, like okay, I'm good to meet you in the middle. And in general, I think a movie that is about people meeting in the middle is more often going to be lowbrow.
Yeah.
Whereas Whiplash is putting forward this very specific, tricky like hypothesis, whereas Drumline is more like, here's a story about people who just understand, who had these ideas and they learned to be a little nicer.
Yeah. For me, the most lowbrow thing about Drumline is like the near Poochie levels of like self-consciously trying to be cool. Like,
And we're all just trying to be cool.
I know, but it's like, I don't know, like the way that he's like very exaggeratedly acting like a cool guy in a way that like feels like a producer knows, like, can he be cooler? Like,
I mean, maybe he's cool. That was 2002. 2001?
Yeah, maybe it did play. Yeah, 2002.
Yeah, 2002. I mean, but you're right. That sort of thing where it's very exaggerated in terms of like, this is the character type who does this. This is the character type who does that. Generally, I think we're talking highbrow, lowbrow. We're talking accessibility and complexity almost. Mm-hmm. And Drumline, I think you're right. It's telling a more straightforward story.
Although a lot of straightforward stories, a lot of simultaneous straightforward stories,
which is great. And
it's deceptively complex.
It's so hard to do that.
Yeah.
It's like so. I mean,
it is very technically, like, on a writing level, a very well written, like, very skilled movie.
Like, do you know how hard it is to write a movie with like 2 characters or like 3 characters who like go on an arc, let alone like 17?
Yeah, have like the E plot payoff, like,
and like all the characters in this movie, even like the very minor guys who just kind of show up here and there, are like, like there's like the bit where they're like working out and there's like the girl musician and she like does one-handed push-ups.
Yeah,
like that doesn't pay off. It's just a good character. I mean, it's just their friends in the back. Like,
they do have a weird arc where she and the guy who joins the frat start dating at the end, which like kind of felt like out of nowhere, just to have a payoff for no reason.
But it adds to this. I mean, we're like the tapestry of this. Like, I think the scene setting of this movie is fantastic, and like every character is like feels like a character. It's great. Yeah, I don't know. I'm jazzed about this movie, and just drum battles are cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Orlando Jones. I'm still talking about. I keep trying to talk about. He's cool in this movie. He's a good. I don't know. He's good. It's an interesting plot. I do a little let down that like it didn't go to that. That it didn't go more about that.
Yeah,
it felt like at some point there could have been a father figure thing with him and Nick Cannon, because Nick Cannon early in the movie had this thing where he basically dresses down his dad and says like, I did the right way. I didn't mess around like you did.
Yeah, I am kind of glad they dropped that for the most part. Like, I didn't need for that plot line to pay off, really. I was kind of found the other stuff more interesting.
I think that in terms of with his own dad, I think that was a lot more just about setting his character, like giving you a reason to like him.
And then his dad is the engine for like the third act, like turn, because he gets those tapes.
You're right. Oh, I forgot about that.
So his dad is a musician. Right. I mean, much like in Drumline, how his dad's a failed writer.
And Whiplash.
Sorry, Whiplash, yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, they just think there's daddy issues. Well, I guess if you're making a movie that has this father, like coaches and band leaders and mentors are like inherently like father figures. So you have to kind of lean into that.
True.
And if we're going to talk about the dad character, talk about Paul Reiser, who's just so kind.
Great.
In Whiplash.
I loaded up your fridge with Gushers.
Yeah.
Great dad move.
And it's so sad. It's such a sad little arc in the background. Apparently in the script there's even more of the dad, and they cut it down to be completely just like Andrew and Fletcher. Mm-hmm. It's so sad. He just wants his son to be happy. Yeah. And like his son just doesn't want to be happy and
just refuses to be loved.
So apparently in the script, while I think I mentioned this before, while Andrew is doing his big drum solo, it mentions Paul his father like watching him then walking away. Oh, and the line in the script is something like he's lost his son forever, or he's lost his son to Fletcher, or something like that. Yeah. Whereas in the movie, and I think this is
he's like impressed.
No. I think he's horrified. Oh, because remember Andrew plays the bad drums. And he's embarrassed in front of the most important music people, and he walks away sad. And his father is like, I need to go help my son. Yeah. And he goes to hug him. And then he's like, okay, I'm going to take you home. And then Andrew like walks away.
Yeah. And he's like, what are you doing?
Right. I think that is him. I think Andrew walks away because he looks at his dad and he doesn't want to be like his dad. I think that's where he chooses Fletcher.
Interesting.
Because he sees him and is like, I don't know. It's something about the way they looked at each other in that scene, and the way that Andrew is like so dismissive of his dad the whole movie. Yeah. That's like how I read that. And then you have one cutaway to Paul Reiser during the big drum solo, and he's just kind of sad. I don't think he's impressed. I think he just realizes that like his son is great, and also he's probably never going to see his son again, or like his son just doesn't care about him. Like it's this thing where his son has just sort of rejected his theory of like life. Where
being
like,
happy,
yeah, just be kind, work hard, do all right, be good to people, and Andrew just has wholeheartedly rejected his like ethos. It's
Yeah.
like that. It's a very. The first time I saw the movie, I did not register the father stuff as much, and this time that last shot of Paul Reiser was just like broke my heart. It's so good.
Yeah, I guess I didn't even register it as much in that way this time.
Yeah. I mean, the first time in the movie I saw the movie, it's all Fletcher, and it's all about like the drive to succeed. And it's that ending gets you so amped, and then you kind of think like, yeah, succeed, greatness. It's tough, but like you can do it, and like it's like, but like that's the fucking scary thing about Whiplash the movie too. It gets you excited about this terrible thing.
But it's also funny because in watching it, I did not believe that was like the kickstarting of his career to greatness. I think it was just that they together achieved this moment of greatness that will not lead to anything because they still fucked up a performance.
I don't know. I think you have to accept the movie on its terms here.
Yeah.
Because the movie's like very much establishing that this is great, and like movie's playing up that he's doing great, and Fletcher is playing it up. Like then I think you kind of have to accept that like he's done it. He's like reached the pinnacle.
That's interesting. See, I read it as like I think he reached the pinnacle. Like he did become a great, but in this very discrete moment of time with him on the stage, and like they together achieve greatness in just like this little moment that won't necessarily like go beyond this moment on the stage.
Gotcha.
It's just that they both finally got what they wanted. They finally got to achieve this greatness, but it's just for this tiny moment outside of time for them, and they have to like this is their moment, and it won't. I didn't think it would have greater ramifications for either of their careers.
Oh, I don't know. I think like to your point that he messed up a performance and now he's doing one. I don't think the movie gives us evidence to say that like because he messed up the first one, everything else after that like sucks. Because Fletcher just says if you do great, you'll get a call. If you do bad, they'll remember it. And he does bad, and then he does great, and Fletcher like plays him up, like to the point that Fletcher to the audience like cues them all to like look at how great he is.
True.
I think you kind of have to accept that like on the movie's terms that like this is like he did all he could. Like he succeeded at impressing these music people.
Oh, that's interesting. I guess there's nothing in the movie to really show one way or another. I would say an argument I have that the movie is saying to you that this is one moment that's discrete is that it cuts away on J.K. Simmons' face, like right at the end of it, without seeing any of what happens after the performance. You don't even see them applaud. You don't see anything else. It just ends with that moment. Cutting on that scene focuses the moment on just them two.
I agree but I think what it's doing is because the movie is about them emotionally is about the relationship.
Because the egg timer hit 90 minutes and it just ended.
I guess, yeah. No, because the movie's about them emotional and you want to end on their emotional connection. Like you can't say for sure that like because he did that he's going to have a career because the movie ends because it's already made his point.
Yeah.
But I think the movie is not really about the joy of music in discrete moments. It's about this one specific kind of obsessive success. So if the movie suddenly in this moment became about, oh, he had just had this one moment and now his life's going to suck, then the trade-off, the devil's bargain is not really a devil's bargain because he doesn't get anything.
But I will say the movie is also about the fact that J.K. Simmons' strategy of producing greatness does not work.
Well, yes.
And that, so like, I think the movie does pretty explicitly in the scene where he says, I never had a Charlie Parker. It says that J.K. Simmons does not have the ability to create this great, quote, great person through his like methods.
Yeah.
So I think like these two guys have achieved like something between them in this moment, but I don't think it is implying that he will now be a great person because he was able to beat JK.
I don't know. We should move on because we will argue about this forever and we've done this before. But yeah, I guess my final point is like, I don't think the movie, that scene is ambiguous in terms of the concrete effects of, I think your take on this is more unorthodox than mine. Sure. I think the take on the movie is that's what's interesting about that scene is more that he gets the thing that he always wanted, but it has destroyed him. I think that's the story the movie's telling. Yeah. I think reading it as a more ambiguous moment of he got absolutely nothing. Well, not absolutely nothing. I'm exaggerating, but he got just a moment it's a different read. It's the first time I've heard it.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. And I'd say I don't think your read is wrong at all. I just don't think there's anything to explicitly say that read is the right one versus the other one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so Petey Pablo coming in at the end of Drumline is so wild.
In a dog shit performance.
It doesn't seem fair. I understand why you have to go.
How are you allowed to have a car drive up in the middle of your performance? Why would they allow that?
I mean, look, okay, I've never seen the BET Classic or the Honda Battle of the Bands, I think it's called now. I Googled it a few days ago. I've forgotten the specifics.
Yeah.
It seems unfair that a school can just hire Petey Pablo as
you can't have outside props, including Petey Pablo.
It seems I mean, I don't know. Okay, for our listeners, Petey Pablo is a rapper who was famous in 2002.
Yeah.
And he in this movie, during the big battle of the bands between Morris Brown, the rival school, and was it Atlanta A&T, which is the good guy school. The bad guy school just fucking has Petey Pablo come in for a verse. Yeah. He drives in a car while they're doing like...
Okay, what if there was like a sub-story where in order to have Petey Pablo come out, they had to have him be on the Drumline for the entire season? So it's like they like recruited him and he had to like show up to band practice like the required amount of times to technically be on the roster, and that's how they got around it.
It's like the Friday Night Lights like Voodoo. That's so funny. Like Petey Pablo has to just like learn paradiddles and shit.
Yeah. It's like, Petey, you have to learn how to read music. He's like, no, I don't. It's like, it's in the rules.
I'm Petey Pablo. I'm 30. I don't know what Petey Pablo is. I'll be honest, I don't listen to a lot of Petey Pablo.
I think I know of one song. It's like Petey Pablo Noriega, and I can't remember which song it is.
It's just very, I mean, okay. Again, lowbrow is not an insult, but that's like the lowbrow move where it's like, okay, let's just get a famous rapper at the time to come in and do a feature. And they're just, but then again, I don't know. Well, like I said, when I saw this movie, I thought all the working out stuff was crazy. And the fact that it was like a military boot camp, but apparently that's a thing that happens.
Yeah.
So like maybe you can just like hire Petey Pablo to show up at the Battle of the Bands.
In which case, why did they not have like KRS-One or somebody? Like,
I
need a better example
but also,
than that.
They're in Atlanta.
Yeah.
They could easily find really good rappers like on a budget.
Yeah.
There's a lot of rappers in Atlanta. A lot of them are really good.
Yeah.
And some of them are not good.
They really fucked up there.
I mean, but this was 2002 Atlanta rap.
I'm trying to think of 2002 Atlanta rappers now.
Yeah, I mean, I think Outkast from Atlanta, no?
Yeah, 2002. Yeah, they're around.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, they predate that by a little bit.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, Atlanta's always had a good rap. I don't know. I'm not a rap expert these days, if at all.
Yeah.
Although, yeah, I think Atlanta rap now is more associated with like Migos.
Yeah.
Which is
it'd be like Kodak Black.
Right, which is not. I don't really listen to a lot of Migos. I don't know. I don't.
Oh, I can get on how I think Atlanta rap has poisoned the genre of rap.
Yeah, I don't know, but although okay, imagining that you're a band leader going into the BET Classic in 2002.
Okay,
and
I'm there.
Okay, and you know Petey Pablo is like, you've heard, okay, this other band is
your scouts have come back.
Right, and you're just like, oh shit, they're bringing out the big guns.
Hit him with Fly the Bumblebee.
Hit him with Fly the Bumblebee. Could you imagine if Nick Cannon and they go to him and like, oh, hey, we got this remix idea. It's like, no, we're gonna do Fly to the Bumblebee. We're gonna stand in a square and do Fly to the Bumblebee while they do Petey Pablo.
Yeah.
No, the joke I was doing was, imagine. I think maybe you don't hire Petey Pablo because you're trying to impress the judges, and maybe some of those judges are like traditionalists.
True. So you zag.
Yeah.
Well, then you do hit him with Fly the Bumblebee.
I think it's too much the other way. I think you gotta do something. You gotta have a little flair. But I think if you coming out with Petey Pablo in the flashy, I could see judges being like, they're all flash, no substance. You got to show a little fundamentals. You know, not all of them. But like, I think you probably come out and do like the remix. I think those judges should not have given the Petey Pablo performance.
I think they should have been disqualified.
I agree.
Also because they drove a car on a football field during half. No, actually, it wasn't in a game.
Yeah. Also, you can do that. Yeah. The people bring out like vehicles and stuff all the time for halftime shows.
I don't watch football.
I mean, especially college football.
Yeah.
Although I do love in this movie that they acknowledge that they don't care about their football team. Like they say, like no one. There's like more people in the stands for the halftime show than the game.
That's really funny.
Yeah, it's like a good little line. Also, that like sells the concept.
Yeah.
Anyway, my idea is that I really think that Petey Pablo is a tactical error. It's like, you know, when you have to send out, you know, like we were talking about like fencing,
too hard. Yeah.
And like sometimes you send out someone you think's going to lose anyway because like someone else is going to come out better, or like you kind of like sending out certain people for different matchups and doing different things can affect the whole team. That's how I feel with the Petey Pablo thing. It's like it's a mistake. It's like they lost the meta game of the Battle of the Bands by doing that. But I guess I was wrong because they made it to the finals and we ended up with that great.
They tied, and by band law they must do. It seems weird that
battle.
It seems weird that the drummers decide it for everyone.
But
or
it's
is
great.
it does it switch? Like maybe next time they have like a the flute battle.
Oh,
like the woodwind battle.
Oh, do you think maybe there's a scene?
Flute line.
They just like draw it out of a hat and just like, this dude's battle
Like,
is
drums,
tubas.
tubas, the tuba off. The tuba off would be fun.
I would love that. I mean, how elaborate can you? I mean, tubas are heavy.
Yeah.
You've seen tuba? They're big.
They're quite big.
That last battle, drumline battle, is so
good.
I love how well like he doesn't have a rival on the other team, but just by having a dude kind of mean mug him.
Yeah, which they do twice. That's
Right.
the move they do because with the guys in red, there's like the kind of like
Where they
heavy set
fight.
guy.
Yeah.
I mean that scene's so good because you're just like he looks like this evil like Golem.
I know.
And he's got that weird like neck chin strap in his mouth, and it's like weird. It's like he's got like a suit of armor on.
He's kind of doing that like Kubrick scare with like he tilts his head down like
yeah.
brrr,
Also, they're doing I think they're like speed ramping or something during those scenes.
and the
Or
drumming.
like like it feels like they're like skipping frames or speed ramping or something.
I mean, they might have to do that because like the actors can't keep up with the.
No, I mean it looks cool.
Yeah.
I'm not. This is not a criticism. I think
Yeah.
it looks awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Like whatever they're doing, I think they're doing some camera fuckery, and it looks fucking rad. Like when they're like running, like when the drum majors are running out and doing the like stiff leg run.
Yeah.
I don't think it's speed ramping because it is at normal speed. I think they're like skipping frames or something weird because it looks kind of herky jerky, and it looks fucking awesome. Like.
Also, I mean, just on the drums are cool. That's
also,
the lesson.
weird props in the drum. These bands keep on having weird props. They have 2 sets of drumsticks.
Yeah.
The other band has chalk at one point.
Yep.
These guys should all be disqualified.
I don't know. Chalk seems like it's allowed. I mean, Petey
Also-
Pablo definitely seems like he's pushing the. It's
Yeah.
definitely against the spirit of the law.
Yeah. Also, so they throw down their drumsticks, take up more drumsticks, throw those down too.
Right.
And that automatically beats them because the other band only threw down 1 set of drumsticks. So by math, our guys win. Did they know the other band? Did they like look at the tape? Did they have like scouts? And they like knew beforehand they were going to throw down drumsticks? Like, well, if we throw down 2 drumsticks, they can't beat that because they won't have their drumsticks.
Yeah, I think that's what happened.
Okay. Because I was just like, it's so specific. It seems like these bands are responding to each other in real time when that's impossible.
Yeah, no, I mean, yes, you're correct. It's got to be scouting. It's got.
Yeah.
Also, then fucking throwing down drumsticks is so. At the very end, when they do their last drum solo and they just like toss one down.
Okay, very cool.
I would cheered. It was like I watched the movie so early in the morning and I was so tired. And I was just like, fucking.
It's
did
great.
it.
Yeah, and then when the other guys like play on their drums, it's the coolest thing.
I know, and you're like, oh man, is Nick Cannon gonna punch this guy or not? He can't. He's got to not.
Yeah.
It's like basically just that. The weird thing I thought, the scene in Lincoln where like Thaddeus Stevens has to like not say how like good he has to like go to the Senate and be like, oh, I just want to end slavery. I'm not going to give black people the right to vote, even though I want to. You know, like you have to like roll restraint.
Yeah.
Main character. It's so hard to dramatize a character not taking an action.
Yeah.
And in this movie, yeah, like you know, like Nick Cannon can't punch this guy, and he wants to punch this fucking guy, and he's just
And
like, I won't.
It works.
I won't.
And then the other guy punches him. And then it's funny that they all just like instantly blame Nick Cannon for that fight when it really seems like he did kind of instigate it, but it doesn't seem like, oh, obviously that guy was going to take a swing at you when you drummed in his drum.
Yeah, I didn't know that was in the realm of things that could happen.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, yeah, okay, if you know, I don't know, if you kick a wall, you'll scuff your shoe. I didn't know that if you like hit someone's drum, they'll punch you.
Yeah, I guess that's like another element of drum law is that you cannot touch another man's drum. And yeah, like instantly everyone's like, oh, well, that was clearly his fault. He crossed the line. Like even his girlfriend, who is not in, I guess she is in the band because she is a cheerleader.
Yeah.
Or maybe they called him something else.
I think they're cheerleaders.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, everyone's just like immediately like, yeah, you like crossed the line. You did that. You were out.
You pushed the envelope.
Yeah, like he got punched in the face and they expelled him for that.
Yeah. Well, they just kicked him off the band.
Oh, sorry, they kicked him off the band. Yeah.
Yeah. No, they kicked him off the band for.
It was for the fight.
Oh, you're right. It was. I'm confusing that in the music thing. The music thing just made him like learn music.
Oh yeah, he got demoted to P4,
Right.
Which is like the shit level drums,
Right. But then why was he doing the battle with the guy? Maybe I'm
because
confusing
they
the timeline.
didn't. Oh no, it was in the end. He gets promoted to P1 because the dean makes him do it.
Oh, you're right. He sends him out there because the dean.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't care. Get him out there. I think. Cool thing I liked in this movie. I'm just looking through my notes. There's the scene where they're at the party that like the
and they start
throwing.
stomping the yard.
Yeah. And like the girl, and in a weird way, that's like very realistic. I mean, it's kind of crazy, just like, you know, to grind a party to a halt and just so everyone can back up and do like step in.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, when you're at college parties, like people have weird niches and weird talents. They just show them off sometimes.
And I think they're in a sorority together. So that's like
it's their party.
It's like a pre-made sorority stomp.
Right.
And then the frat stomp happens after. And I actually really like the frat. I kind of like the frat stomp more.
I loved their
blue Timbs.
Yes. Their matching blue Timbs.
Matching blue Timbs is a powerful move.
I literally wrote down
the Timbs get a hero shot too.
I know. I paused it and backed up and I was like, Jess, did you see the matching blue Timbs?
I know, because they got like blue shirts and blue Timbs and they're like popping their like
I want to know
frat
more about
symbols.
those guys.
I think it's just another frat.
Why aren't they part of why is this movie about them?
I think we need to watch Stomp the Yard.
I think
that is the movie about them.
Yeah.
It's a backdoor pilot for Stomp the Yard.
Oh God. Movie idea. We do movies about dancing and it's the Red Shoes and Stomp the Yard.
Yeah. Shit.
No one will listen to that episode because no one has seen the Red Shoes.
I mean, what else? Suspiria? Black Swan?
Black Swan. Yeah, that's what it'd be.
Black Swan and Stomp the Yard?
Black Swan.
That's not bad.
That's a good one. I love Black Swan. Have not seen Stomp the Yard.
I haven't seen either. I've still never seen Black Swan.
Really?
Yeah, so
It's
it would be a good one for me.
And I think you really vibe with Darren Aronofsky. I mean, if you like Mother, which is his most insane movie.
Yeah, I have never thought that I would not like Black Swan. I just have not watched it.
This is shocking. You'd adore this movie.
Yeah, I've been told that, and I believe that.
It's wacky and interesting in a way that you would appreciate.
Yeah, no, it sounds great. There's a lot of movies that I'm like, I know I will like this. I'm not avoiding it. I just have not seen it yet.
But backing up to the party, there's something I really like about this movie. It's just like the energy at college with weird niches and subcultures.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the weird little things they all do. I mean, obviously, in this movie, in this college, like marching band is not niche. It's a very big thing.
They're like the football team.
Right. You know, like it's accurate to life. But like they have that same energy that I just remember from like, you know, you go to like a Frisbee team party and they just have weird things they do. And they just like have weird traditions and like the weird energy.
I was on the fencing team. We had a lot of that energy of just being weird.
Yeah. Like I was on the rugby team and we had that like, yeah, those are my three examples: rugby, frisbee, fencing.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, yeah, for us it'd be like we'd have a party and somebody would yell like fucking NFP, which meant no fucking pants, and everyone would take their pants off and we continue the party. And if there was anybody else there, they'd be like, "What the fuck is happening?"
Yeah, they're just like we'd like weird song like at rugby parties. There was like there's like singing specific rugby songs you would do, and just someone would just start doing them.
Yeah,
like and then everyone would just start singing at each other.
Yeah,
and like
because that's fun. That stuff is fun. It's fun to have a secret.
And Drumline just so well captures that like joy of just being around people who are just all obsessed with the same thing you are. And you all are like just have this unspoken understanding of these weird social rules that matter so much to you.
Yeah,
it's
where you're like, oh, this is a crew party. That's why everyone's naked.
Yeah.
Like, that's just a thing that the crew team does.
It made me really kind of nostalgic for that aspect of college.
Yeah.
Like I'm not one of those like, oh, those are the best days of my life guys. You know, I like going to college, but I'm not like, I'm happy. I'm not happy I'm 30, but I don't wish I was 20.
Mm-hmm.
But like that was kind of really sweet, you know.
And there's another similar thing where they discovered that their friend has been rushing the frat.
Yeah.
And because like I went to a school that had some secret societies, and then you did have that thing where you found out like, wait, this person I've known for a while is in a secret society. They've been having this whole other shit going on for a while.
Hey, what school did you go to?
I don't know, man.
What school?
I went to Princeton.
You're the one Princeton guy who doesn't mention that all the time.
They weren't as big in the secret societies as like Yale, but they did have them.
Comparing and contrasting, I thought of as I was talking about that thing with the subcultures. In Drumline, you know, they're aspiring for greatness bonds them, and they have this weird little subculture, and that makes them come closer, even if they like clash. Whereas in Whiplash,
they all hate each other.
They sabotage each other.
Yeah.
Like they don't it's not even just that they hate each other and that makes them want to be better. They hate each other so that makes them want to like cheat and lie and steal.
But how much of that is only within J.K. Simmons's band?
Exactly.
Because you don't see enough of his band beforehand with like the nice instructor.
Yeah.
That maybe the rest of because like that's like in a horrible situation like that, you have to become cutthroat in order to survive.
Right.
So maybe it's just like that is because of J.K. Simmons that they're all like that.
That's true. That's a good point I hadn't thought about, because I saw it as J.K. Simmons created this. Well, maybe it's the same thing. He created this culture of, you know, doing whatever it takes to survive is how you achieve greatness. Like that's the lesson they've all internalized. But you're right. It's entirely possible that they're just like living in fear, and that I saw that class as like, I think they all seem pretty shitty. They all seem like not great people who are like scared and hurtful and like resentful of each other. And that's,
like
it's very like Moby Dick.
Yeah. The one guy that we do interact with is the like main chair drummer. and he's like a total dick from the jump.
Yeah.
Because he's kind of got, because he's, I mean, they're kind of like hazing him, but also like, I think it's kind of a, but that is a culture that arises from being in a like situation like that is very harsh and that encourages you to have that attitude.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like how agencies are in entertainment.
And I think that's the, I think that's like the most damning thing against Fletcher is that the students hate each other and are not helping each other.
Yeah.
Because like, you know, Orlando Jones is, I mean, these aren't real people, but Orlando Jones in Drumline is, you know, pushing students for greatness, and they hurt each other and they get intense and they like push, you know, like want more from each other, but they end up bonding over it.
Yeah.
And I think that is the part of creative achievement that Whiplash doesn't lean into.
Right.
Which I think it's aware of. I think that's what makes Whiplash interesting. It has all these ideas and it's kind of complicated in how it tells them. And it makes you wonder about this kind of stuff.
Well, it is weirdly, they're taking a collaborative medium and focusing only on individual achievement.
Right.
Which is, Drumline is the inverse of that, which is that they are all very, very intensely focused on being collaborative.
Exactly.
Like the whole point, it's kind of like back to them being related to like the army, where it's like you have to break down the individual so they'll function in this group because that's very important for like an army. But they have that same attitude where it's like these people have to like, their ego has to be like destroyed so they can be a part of this like multi-celled organism that is the band.
Exactly. And like, I think it was Richard Brody of the New Yorker when Whiplash came out, like wrote an article like what Whiplash gets wrong about jazz, and mostly focusing on this exact thing, which is you know, like creativity breeds collaboration, and like being near other creatives inspires you to be better, but also being friendly and working with each other makes you better. Like I think so many directors will like thank other directors in their like award speech and stuff because they just like watch each other's movies and give them notes and talk to each other and like work together and stuff. I think that's like a thing you see in a lot of things that Whiplash doesn't. Yeah. But where I differ from Brody is that I think Whiplash knows that. I think Whiplash is trying to tell you like this is the wrong way of getting to this great place, or like maybe it's not, and maybe that's why the movie's like. I don't think Whiplash is advocating for Fletcher. No, Fletcher's prizing individual achievement over group achievement. Right. I think it's just. I think it's more raising the question of what does it cost to achieve greatness. Yeah. And I think that is just the question it is asking in a very broad way. And I think it's like it is a question because it's like I think about it when you hear so many interviews with comedians where they often have like a very messed up childhood, or they had like a very troublesome relationship, usually with their dad or something. And it's like, it seems like greatness, at least in comedy, is often created by having like a bad childhood. And you're like, well, if you wanted to create a comedian in a lab, does that mean you have to like give him a bad father? Because it seems to have worked every other time. Man, good ass movie. It's so good. Whiplash is great. I think. Well, we talk about. I guess we can talk about Damien Chazelle a little bit because I think he's a really interesting. Well, the story behind Whiplash is very interesting. It was like created as a short. It was just the scene of J.K. and Miles drumming together. Right? Well, yes and no. So he wrote the script. It was called The Drummer. Right. And then he filmed that scene, the rushing and dragging scene, which is like an all-time great scene. Not with Miles Teller, with a different actor. Right. The guy who plays young Neil and Scott Pilgrim, whose name escapes me. I know who you mean. Yeah. I think it was him. And then Oh, no. Maybe it was the guy from the Nick the Young Doctor. I confused them. Anyway, I don't know. They do that scene, they raise the money, and then they film the rest of it. Yeah, and they sold it to Blumhouse, which is interesting because Blumhouse is a horror production company that is famously, their whole model is that they find movies that are very, very cheap to make, and they just pump out a lot of those, and hopefully one hits, and one like that's like The Conjuring. Conjuring? No, not The Conjuring. It's Paranormal Activity. Yeah, low budget, high concept is their like mod. I think Escape Room I think is one of theirs, and Get Out is one of their big ones. The Purge is one of their like huge. Yeah, and it's like they have this like scattershot approach where like, okay, we'll just produce all of these movies for like $4 million each, and then one of them will hit, and we'll fund the rest of the movies. Yeah, and it works like a motherfucker. And funny, the weird thing about Whiplash, like it was campaigned as like a best original screenplay, and then like 2 weeks before the Oscar voting closed for the nominations, the Oscars said, "Oh, actually, it's a best adapted screenplay because it's adapted from the short." Yeah, because that's so stupid. If there's already an entity in the world that has these characters in it that that was released, which it was a short, which
that's
they
true,
did,
but yeah.
then you have to like, I don't agree with it, but like I understand why their rules led them to this conclusion.
Yeah, I guess.
But luckily it did end up getting the nomination for screenplay anyway.
Oh, okay. Is adapted an easier category?
Like to get nominated in?
Or to win?
It depends by year.
Yeah.
I think like some years it's like super tough. Some years just like a cakewalk.
Because I could see that weirdly benefiting them.
It kind of depends because I feel like original screenplay a lot of times is award for being the most original, which is not something I agree with.
And I guess now there's fewer original screenplays.
Right. Where adapted is a lot more of like just what's the best story or what's the best movie.
True.
I'm getting on my soapbox here. Like writing best screenplay does not mean best dialogue, although dialogue is an important part. Doesn't mean weirdest idea for a movie. Screenplay is character and structure and story and narrative and arc and theme and everything.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Things that are often attributed to directors more than writers.
Which, to be fair, directors in shepherding all this have a huge part in all of that.
Sure.
But like, I always really pisses me off when like, I don't know, like I remember at some take like Shape of Water would have been my original screenplay winner that year. And be like, what, really best screenplay? Like best director? I'm like, well, it's the best movie. The story made me cry the most.
Yeah.
And it's not just like whatever has, like if it was just best weirdest idea and best dialogue, Wes Anderson would have like 7 Oscars by now.
I know.
Which he kind of deserves. Wes Anderson's
he's
great.
very good.
I don't know what I'm saying anymore. My annoyance is that people don't understand that writing is a lot more than just dialogue.
That's a problem across a lot of categories in the Oscars. It's like for sound mixing, it often goes to the loudest movie. Like often goes to big action movies or like the loudest movie.
They recently combined the awards as just best sound. Instead of, it used to be sound editing and mixing, now it's just best sound.
Yeah, which real blow for the mixers.
Yeah, I mean, they're different things, but I understand what the Oscars are. I think they're just trying to figure out what they're going to be these days.
Yeah.
It's a tough landscape for anyone doing anything.
Yeah.
I do love the Oscars though.
I'm less of an Oscar guy, but I acknowledge their importance for film.
Speaking of Oscars, J.K. Simmons won an Oscar for Whiplash.
Yeah, he's very good. He's so scary. He's also so jacked.
Jacked old men are... We talked about this last week, right?
Or did we talk about this like in the car?
I don't know. We talk a lot.
Yeah. Jacked old men or scary old men.
Yeah. Oh, it was in the car. Yeah. J.K. Simmons in the Tomorrow War he just shows up like 2 scenes, and like one of them Chris Pratt goes to talk to him, and he's just like in a garage, just ripped out of his fucking skull with a big white beard, and it's like
I think it's also because
so impressive
because jacked old men are also like extra veiny, and like jacked old men also like it's like their skin is a little looser. So it's just this like rippling muscle underneath kind of loose skin. It's just something about it is just like scarier. It's just like this monster. And he's bald, so like his head looks like another bicep.
I think Whiplash does a really good job of just like making him just physically imposing.
Yes.
He's like a shark in this movie. Like
the
way I think like there's even a scene where he's like framed outside of a window and he's just like a fucking shadow. He's so good.
Yeah.
Love that he won an Oscar. He's so good in everything.
Really interesting the scene of him interacting with the kid, the little girl. Because like you see I mean, it's the same thing as like, I don't know, if you're like in high school and you see like your teacher you're scared of, you just see him at the grocery store or something. Or like, yeah, I mean, or like listening to your boss interact with, like talk to their kids on the phone, which I've had, where it's just like, you see the softer side of them, but you're also just like, oh my God, like if these people knew what they were like around me, what would they think?
Right. Damien Chazelle, we were talking about. Really cool filmmaker.
Yeah.
Makes weird, interesting movies.
What do you make after this?
La La Land.
Oh.
And he won an Oscar for Best Director.
I mean, I hate that movie.
I love that movie.
I love that Damien Chazelle wrote an original movie and that it's Whiplash. And also, like, I like writer-directors. So I like him. I really don't like La La Land.
I think La La Land's fantastic. I think it gets a bad rap.
I think it should have a worse rap.
I think there's this thing that I
don't think it's problematic.
I don't think it's problematic. I think movies... I think sometimes when a movie's like an Oscar frontrunner for a while, and it's just like it gets this kind of backlash because like the Oscar season is this thing where like it's 3 months of the culture saying this is the best movie of the year, and eventually people's like, oh well, actually, so like you get a target on your back. I think La La Land gets more grief than it deserves. I think it's a very good movie. I think it's excellent. And then you did First Man, which is a movie I like a little less than the other two.
Oh, okay, I haven't seen that.
Interesting.
Yeah. My main problem with La La Land is that I think it is trying to be like a singing and dancing movie, like an old like Gene Kelly movie, but the actors are not dancers, so they're doing like very kind of like boring, simple dancing. But because it's kind of like a riff on those old like Gene Kelly style musicals, it feels there's scenes that feel like they should be a showcase for good dancing, but it's not or not. Maybe it's, I don't know if it's good or bad, but it's not interesting.
Right. The scene where they're dancing in the park is, this was less a problem for me, but I do agree. Like the scene where they're dancing in the park, it's like, it seems like they should be doing like the Gene Kelly like acrobatics.
Right.
And it's kind of like pleasant.
Yeah.
I really dug it because I really liked their relationship. I liked the music. I liked the story.
Yeah. And like, I do like the story because it's the same story as Umbrellas of Cherbourg, and I like that movie.
That movie's so good.
But I will say, I think also maybe part of this is kind of it's a problem that I have beyond this with how movies are cast, which is like this, especially like a musical, theoretically you should cast a singer or a dancer, but instead you have to have a star.
Yeah.
Which is, I understand why, but I wish it wasn't that way.
I will say with La La Land, I was a little more forgiving of it since, because it's his own thing, it's Chazelle's own vision. So he, it's like whatever he wants for the range of their ability. Cause like, I think Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone are good singers. I don't think they're like, like singing like Les Mis songs with like the full, like, I don't think they're like some of the greatest vocalists you can see on Broadway.
Yeah.
But I do think they're good.
I have more of a blind, I can't really tell good or bad singing in a musical. So for me, I'm like, they're singing, whatever, that's fine. But the dancing for me was like pretty lackluster.
I mean, for like singing, I feel like I understand that there's like tiers. There's like, you can't sing. You can sing pretty well. And then like, you're Aretha Franklin. You're in that like upper echelon.
For sure.
And I don't think anything even Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone would agree that they're not Aretha Franklin level, but I think they're pretty good.
Yeah. And I don't know if in like the classic like musicals, like a Gene Kelly or like a Fred Astaire musical, I don't know how technically skilled they are at singing. I think they're good.
They're good. Yeah.
They're good. I don't know if they're like capital G great singers, but I do think Gene Kelly and Fred Astaire are capital G great dancers.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But the thing is, like, we don't really have famous singer dancers right now.
Not in movies.
Channing Tatum is a dancer.
Yeah, but like
not a singer.
Yeah, because musicals are almost exclusively adapted from Broadway.
Yeah,
and you very rarely get the dancing from Broadway in movies, and it doesn't feel like the same kind of thing. Like In the Heights has a little bit of it. There's a scene where Corey Hawkins and I forget the other actors are. They're like dancing on the side of a building. That's pretty good. Although, but there's like a lot of wire stuff happening, so it's unclear if how well they're dancing.
That's cool though.
No, it's a good movie. Check it out. Yeah, but we don't really have the same kind of like dancers and I mean, I don't know. I'm just thinking about how freaking good Gene Kelly is.
I love
dancing.
Gene Kelly so much.
Yeah,
I really want to do Sing in the Rain for this podcast.
Sing in the Rain would be a really good one. And Gene Kelly is a fascinating like person. I mean, he directed Hello Dolly, which like bankrupted Fox.
That's funny.
And Hello Dolly's like a
good on him.
Yeah, it's like an interesting movie.
Getting him from the inside. The calls coming from inside the building.
It was that, if I remember correctly, it was that and Cleopatra coming out within like around the same time. Fox got bankrupted, so they had to sell off half the lot, and that's why we have Century City.
Could we do a highbrow and a lowbrow flop?
Probably.
Like do like Ishtar lowbrow, and then like
is Ishtar lowbrow?
It's comedy.
It is. I don't know. I haven't seen Ishtar. I think it's more well regarded now. I mean, I feel like we're doing a lowbrow. I mean, you could do like
or like Gates of Heaven highbrow flop.
Gates of Heaven's Gate.
Heaven's Gate. Yeah.
Gates of Heaven is
that's the
documentary.
Errol Morris, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Heaven's Gate.
Gates of Heaven is so good.
Yeah.
It's
we'll
crazy.
do Gates of Heaven versus Heaven's Gate.
I do not know how I would be able to talk about Gates of Heaven in any length on this podcast. Its
topic is Gates, heaven.
It's just kind of like people talking about death and animals and dead animals for like an hour and a half. It's really
that
good.
and Pet Cemetery.
Dead pets.
Yeah.
I mean, sure. Why not? Yeah. Season 5.
Doc versus fiction. Tough. Tough to find the line there.
Patreon episode.
Yeah.
What else do you want to say about drums? Drums are cool. I liked playing drums when I was younger. Don't do it as much anymore.
I have the note that it kind of reminds me of Royal Tenenbaums, which is kind of like
which one? Whiplash?
Whiplash.
Yeah, the
like,
New York
the kind of like but also like the kind of like squandered promise.
Yeah,
like young proteges who then kind of flame out.
Yeah,
and what do they become?
Yeah, that's fine. I didn't see that. I didn't see it, but I do see it. I think, especially Whiplash coming at it from like a much more violent angle, whereas in Real Town it's a little more wistful.
Yeah, for sure.
Royal Tenenbaums.
It's like him working at like the coffee shop is kind of what reminds me of Royal Tenenbaums. So it's like he was this great person, and now he's kind of like that chapter in his life is over, and what does he do?
Yeah.
Like, what do you do when you have dedicated your life to this pursuit of something?
Yeah. Oh, interesting. I hadn't thought about that. Good movie. We should talk about. We should do Royal Tenenbaums.
That's maybe probably my favorite movie. Oh, my one stray note that I have is that J.K. Simmons is horrible at time management. Like, so much of him as the Fletcher's character is just that, like, he will have some bug in his head and will take 8 hours to like figure it out. And I'm like, this is like band time. You have the rest of your band just sitting around doing nothing.
But it's because he's being like manipulative, right? It's like he knows he's doing that. He's just trying to like fuck with people.
Yeah.
He only cares about finding Charlie Parker so he can be validated.
Yeah, sure. Again, it's like sacrificing the band as a whole for one person.
Yeah. The way that he pretends to be nice to Andrew so he can get Andrew to talk about himself, so he can then weaponize all those things he told him against him is so good.
It's so good. And also, especially like when you see it flip, you're like, oh my God, it was a trap. And then like the third time he does that, you're like, Miles Teller, maybe don't fall for the bait this time.
And then the dinner scene, I just want to shout out because I think it's the scene where he's like with his family. I mean, I think it's like the broadest the movie is, but I think it's really funny.
Yeah.
And I think it digs into his character, like in a way that like, he's so mean in that scene, but everyone's so mean to him.
Yeah, they do kind of come out the gate being shitheads to him.
I think it's really interesting because Melissa, his girlfriend, Melissa Benoist, mentions like, oh, my parents were, he says something like, oh, my parents were critical of me too. Mm-hmm. Or, oh, my parents like to criticize me too is the line.
Yeah.
And like, I think that kind of like goes, that line just kind of goes off into the movie, but like you kind of get a sense of like he lived in this culture that like very casually expected achievement,
right?
And like in a way like I guess he may have like internalized, but also like the way that they're just like, oh, he did this thing in this Division III football and he's doing this and he's doing that. Yeah. Oh, how's the drumming?
Yeah. I know it is funny that that maybe felt, that was the most broad, that they just so casually dismissed what is like obviously impressive.
But it is the thing where if you don't know what it is, they don't care. Like if I told someone, that I got a writer's assistant job, they'd just be like, okay, you're in it, like who's not in the industry, they're like, is that good? You in it? How's the assisting doing? Whereas like here, like that's a very prestigious thing to get.
Yeah.
I did really like feel for that. I thought it was like a very smart way. If the movie gets you on his side at all, it's in scenes like that where you understand that like no one believes in this thing that he's so passionate about, and he's so funny snapping back at them.
I know. Well, yeah, like it's like 3 words you'll never hear. We want you,
but then his dad.
Oh, is it?
It's 4 words you'll never hear. Yeah, you will never hear from the NFL.
Yeah, but then his dad fires that back at him and the Lincoln Center, which is actually like surprisingly cruel from his dad.
Yeah, because his dad's, I think, just trying to like get him to tamp down. But
he is saying that like you won't succeed, which is pretty wild coming from that character.
Yeah, but I think you're right, and he is punishing the son for what he was saying to the kid. But the kid was saying that back all the family was starting that too.
Yeah,
I think that scene paints a little more of a dysfunctional family dynamic than a lot of the other movie does. I mean, Paul Reiser as his dad is very kind, obviously. And I think is like meant to be a good figure there, but I think you do see that the ways that even like a functional and very positive family, like he doesn't come from like a broken home, he isn't abused or anything, but even there you can create these kind of neuroses.
Yeah, although that's not his mom, is it? Isn't that like his aunt? Do we meet his mom?
No.
Is she like alive?
I don't know. I think Fletcher mentions that she left.
Oh, right. She left when he was a kid.
Yeah.
Right.
Which also can probably be a thing. Man, it's so good the way this movie just like builds in these little details that you can draw out, but it never, like at no point in this movie does it just like have a character set to, like it's so just like built in. It's so casual the way it flows. You always know what the kind of thing it's doing. Man, good ass movie.
So good.
Anything else?
No. Should we play a game?
We are re-recording the game. We end our podcast with the game. We did one for drums. It ended up as a bit of a snoozer. We had a list.
Yeah, I am very bad at trivia, so I just sucked at it.
And the list was a lot of pretty deep cut movies about drums. So for context, we're going to end with a game. We're ending our episodes with a game where one of us finds a list of movies that fit the theme of the day in some way and quizzes the other one on what would be on that list. Last time when we recorded it, what feels like 10 years ago for the drums episode, Did a list from a drum magazine about best drumming movies.
What's it this time, Josh?
This time it is vulture.com, the 32 greatest character actors working today.
All right.
We're not doing 32.
Yeah, thank God. Because of J.K. Simmons, presumably.
Because J.K. Simmons is maybe the one. He's on the Mount Rushmore of character actors. I think we can agree.
Yeah.
So here's the list. I came up with a few. I'm just going to like throw some facts at you. I want to see if you can get these. I'm pretty sure you know all these people.
Yeah, make them easy, Josh. I'm real dumb in the head.
There were some really deep cuts on this. So there were people I didn't even know, and I'm like obsessed with stupid movie trivia. So you know, there's some rules like if you were nominated for an Oscar, you can't be on this list. That was like a vulture rule.
Is Udo Kier on this?
He might be. He's not on my list.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Let's go.
So first guy, he came from TV. He's in some more movies now. He is on a comedy that's not always that funny. That's on FX. But he's not the
Will
lead.
Arnett?
Nope. It is way weirder and way more dramatic and times. Still on FX. Has not had a season in a while. A show you and I both love and have watched together.
Donald Glover?
Not Donald Glover, but got the show right.
Oh, it's Atlanta.
Yeah, show's Atlanta.
Oh, no, it can't be Cat Stevens.
No. One of the
Cat
three.
Williams,
It's
rather.
one of-
It's definitely not Cat Stevens.
No. It's one of the. It would be so weird. Cat Stevens, not even his name anymore.
Yeah.
One of the three. Well, it's not Donald Glover. It's one of the other two.
Lakeith Stanfield?
The other one.
Oh, my God. And now I'm blanking on his name.
I'm gonna count down. We're going fast.
Okay.
4, 3, 2.
I didn't get it. All right.
It's Brian Tyree Henry.
damn it.
And you knew the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was a
Paperboy. It's Paperboy.
It's Paperboy.
Yeah.
He's great. I love him. I loved him in
He's on the greatest
character actors working today.
working today. That makes
Yes.
more sense.
Yeah,
I was
not of
gonna-
all time.
Of all time, that'd be a hot take.
Oh, yeah, then you
not
got,
that because he's new.
Right, yeah, like not that Brian Tyree Henry is insanely talented and I love him and everything, but maybe he hasn't built up the body of work of like Carl Malden or like, I don't know, Charles Durning or like any of those old characters.
Especially because he's gotten gobbled up by Marvel now.
Right, which I haven't seen Eternals yet. I hear he's good. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's so good in Vice Principals in that like one scene in season 1.
Oh, yeah.
He's the new Principal's like ex. Who
You know what's
comes
funny?
in.
We always complain about how Billions steals our great actors from us. Marvel also
as well.
gobbles up our great comedians from us.
Oh, constantly.
Because
Yeah.
we lost. We're losing Kumail.
Right, because Camille's not even. I mean, he's too ripped to be funny.
Yeah.
It's just, those are the rules.
And then Jurassic Park, we lost Chris Pratt, but that's not a Marvel movie, but same kind of.
Well, because Guardians came first.
Oh yeah, so
Yeah.
Marvel did steal Chris Pratt from us.
You know, there was I think Glenn Howerton from It's Always Sunny was on the short list. He came down, like he was on the final like 4, I think.
I could see
for
that.
role.
He's got the look.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
All right, next on the list. This is a lady.
Okay.
She is mostly known as a comedian. Has been in
Maria Bamford,
no.
Amy Schumer.
I'm trying to give away without giving away because there's one clue that's really going to get you have it. She's in a lot of Christopher Guest movies. She's known for being very kind of a little off, a little ditzy, very blonde. Her most famous role, you don't actually know her name, but all the teenagers in this movie referred to her as someone's mom.
Oh my God, it's Stifler's mom.
It's Stifler's mom.
Oh my God, I don't know her name. She's in Legally Blonde. God damn it! All right, you're gonna have to just tell
I'm
me.
going to
What's
tell
her
you,
name?
it's Jennifer Coolidge.
Yeah, you're right.
She's
Okay.
great. I love that she's on this list too.
Yeah, she's really good.
I know, like you think of the character actors, you think of these like I don't know, like maybe not like Frank Grillo or like Bill Camp, like these kind of grizzled older
Or
dudes.
like Steve Buscemi.
Right, exactly. And I think Jennifer Coolidge is an incredible character
Yeah,
actor.
she's a great comedian.
Yeah. Next person. This is a absolutely a comedian, known for being a comedian, known for being funny, known for improv as well. Has been a guest star on like every show. Does a ton of voice acting. Someone you love.
Oh my God,
Has a big bushy beard.
Brian Posehn.
I mean, that's funny. That does actually fit everything I said, but it's like very much not.
Oh,
I'm trying to think what would be a good. How about let's see. He was on Brooklyn Nine-Nine in a recurring role. Not a regular, but like would pop in every once in a while.
it's not the fire chief from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, right?
No. This guy also was in the league as like a guest star.
Mantzoukas.
It's Mantzoukas.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank God. Jason Mantzoukas.
I was gonna lose my mind if you didn't get that one because I know you like worship at the altar of Mantzoukas.
I love Jason Mantzoukas.
He's so
I
funny.
listen to How This Get Made a lot.
I saw him on a plane once.
Yeah?
He was in like first class and just talking. And the guy was talking to some guy who was asking him questions, and
Yeah.
he was really nice. He was just like, yeah, I'm working on this project and doing this.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy. I actually met him after a show at UCB one time
That's awesome.
at the fancier bar next door, not Birds.
Yeah, but also not someone you think of as like a character actor. Always like
Because it's a very usually the Mantzoukas role, kind of.
right, and it's a little more, and because it's like such a comedy thing, it's sort of like, oh, let's just get him to show up and do the Mantzoukas and go home. But I guess you're kind of doing that with like J.K. Simmons sometimes.
Yeah.
Like Simmons does that in I Love You, Man.
My pet thing that I want to happen is I want for there to be the Steve Buscemi to Boardwalk for Mantzoukas.
Yeah, I don't even know what that would be, but that would be well.
I think he could do. He's a very good actor. I think he could do a leading dramatic role and
that'd
be
be
good.
interesting. I wonder if he's like developing something like that.
Probably.
I mean, I hope so.
Yeah.
But he also, I mean, he is set right now, just appearing in every single thing on the air, and the voice acting. I don't think I've seen an animated show that he hasn't at least guest starred on in the last 10 years.
Sheer pops up in a lot of animated stuff too.
Yes, yeah, him as well. I mean, it's great to just get comedians to pop in for that, and or anyone really.
Yeah.
I got 2 more on the list.
All right, so I'm 1 for 3.
Yeah. Here, someone who has been in a movie we've talked about on the podcast. I don't know like where in the continuity.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Right movie, but not Jamie Lee Curtis.
Lindsay Lohan.
It's a man who is in that movie.
Stephen Tobolowsky.
It is Stephen Tobolowsky.
Okay.
Yeah, that was good. I'm glad you like immediately got the right movie. Stephen Tobolowsky, one of the great character actors.
Oh yeah, all time. He's really good in Silicon Valley.
Yeah, he's so funny in Silicon Valley. Obviously, Groundhog Day, getting punched in the face by Bill Murray is maybe like his shining moment. He's great. I don't want to step on it too much because I know we do some Tobolowsky talk on that episode, which may or may not have come out.
I don't know if we do enough Tobolowsky
We
talk.
could do more.
Yeah.
Stephen Tobolowsky, so great.
We'll have like a filler episode. This is Tobolowsky talk.
We should, he had a podcast he did with Slash Film years ago called the Tobolowsky Files. We're not, I guess I'm like being a sponsor of it now, but it's just him telling stories about the business.
Sounds great.
It's very fun.
Yeah.
Good dude. Good actor. Love him on all that stuff. Last one.
All right.
This is a lady.
Okay.
And
Jamie Lee Curtis.
also a comedian. Or not a comedian, but like is in a lot of funny things.
Okay.
Very, I would say really hasn't had like has been in some dramatic roles here, but really not known for that. Known for specifically being a little awkward and off-putting.
Maria Bamford.
Similar energy sometimes. Let me give you some stuff. So she was in Arrested Development, but like not a recurring.
Is she an Archer?
Yes. Yeah. I can't believe I didn't get it. Yeah. She is in Archer. She's one of the core cast.
Okay. So now I just have to remember her name.
You know who it is?
She's in Arrested Development. She's the one that takes her shirt off all the time.
Right.
She's
Yeah.
the
That's who it
assistant.
is. Yeah.
Oh no. Am I going to get her name?
Oh, come on. She's so great. You must know her.
I do know. I'm picturing her face. Oh my God. Oh, I'm so bad at trivia.
I'll throw out some more clues just for the people at home. We'll go fast though. I mean, she's in, I don't even know if she's in like everything at this point. I mean, she's in The Descendants. She's in the TV set. She was in a series of commercials where she played Jane Krakowski's sister.
Yeah, I'm not going to get it.
Fine. Cool. Judy Greer.
God damn it.
She's so good.
Yes, she's really good.
Also kind of a fun left-wing choice for the list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, she's very good. She's great on Archer. She's Cheryl.
Yeah. So funny.
Yeah.
Anyway, my 2 alternates, I'm just going to tell you, were Luis Guzman
Oh,
and Michael Stuhlbarg.
great.
Those are the other 2 that I bumped for Tobolowsky.
Yeah.
When it was
I met
between those.
Luis Guzman. I'm going to tell Luis Guzman story that I might have to cut.
Sure.
I met Luis Guzman one time. I was at a rap party for Code Black, and he yelled at me for not smoking weed. We were smoking cigars out front. He's like, "Is there weed in those?" We're like, "No." He's like, "Get out of here!" And he just went inside.
That's a great story. We could always bleep it if you want. If you just want to like have that mystery there. But also, Luis Guzman's so great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love in Community that they have the Luis Guzman statue.
Yeah, it's funny because I think he's been in a lot of like dramatic roles over the years, but he's so funny in the funny roles. Like in Waiting, he's just like the funniest freaking thing in that movie. Like when he describes like the penis showing game.
Oh, yeah.
It's so great.
Yeah,
he's so
really,
funny.
I forgot he was in that.
He's great. Everyone's great.
We should do Waiting.
We could do that.
And Waitress?
That would be very interesting. I was thinking there's got to be another like It All Happens in One Night.
Big Night?
Yeah. That'd be, not a movie I know a lot of people know super well.
Chef?
I mean, look, we got options. This
If we're,
thing's
just doing
got legs.
if we're doing restaurant movies.
That's true. Yeah, I think we got a lot of options.
Yeah.
We can always do like waiting in the slammin' salmon, even though they're both
yeah,
lowbrow.
that's yeah.
I like the slammin' salmon. So that's been our game.
All right. Bye forever.
I mean, it depends where we
Wait,
want
we
to cut
can't
it,
do bye forever
because we do Rex after this. Yeah,
All
it's
right.
fine. This is not going to be on mic. We can stop.
Yeah.
All right. Recommendation. What have you been watching? Anything cool?
Farts.
Yeah, you always forget to say stuff.
I forgot to come in. You say yours.
Okay. So earlier this week I watched Love and Basketball. It's on HBO Max. With Gina Prince Bythewood directed movie with Omar Epps and Sana Lathan. It's fantastic. Similar to Drumline a little bit, just in terms of like predominantly black cast, like about a very specific thing. Like this one, they're all very into basketball, obviously Drumline, but like that's kind of where the similarities end. I think Love and Basketball is just kind of like a really well acted melodrama with really strong characters. Like I was like really blown away by it. So I really recommend it. Check it out.
And I'm gonna say Donda. Donda is good.
No, you're not.
Don't forget to thank Jesus.
I think we may have
Don't listen to the haters. Donda is good.
Right there, just maybe the greatest chasm between getting us some like quality like points, like internet points, and just squandering it immediately.
We may have to bleep all of this out.
We don't have to bleep out the.
It would be funny if we just bleeped out my recommendation.
Yeah,
though.
and everyone's just like, what is he recommending? What's he? He's like, I mean, I'm recommending this kind of like underseen, but a classic, like Criterion Collection movie, you know, like one of the very few movies directed by a black woman, like this very like beloved thing that's trying to become like a cult classic. And like, you're just like, fucking Kanye.
Universally hated man comes out with mediocre album.
I don't know, man. I
think it's a return to form for Kanye.
Too long.
It is too long.
too
The skits
long.
aren't great, but it's just like it feels kind of like the old Kanye. Like it feels kind of like Dark Twisted Fan, or like at least Pablo. It's kind of like Pablo era Kanye, but it's like Pablo light.
Yeah, that's what that. I mean, I only listened to the first like 5 songs. I thought
Hurricane's very good.
Hurricane and Jail were the two I could actually.
Jail's
listen to.
good. Jonah is good.
I couldn't really. I don't know. I like literally every time I try to listen to Donda, I'm just like I could be listening to Life of Pablo, and I just listen to Life of Pablo.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, our shout out, Life of Pablo.
Life of Pablo is so good.
Still good.
Remember when we saw Kanye in the show, the last show he got through before he had that breakdown?
Yeah, it was the floating stage show.
It was so good.
It was so great. He restarted.
He did Waves a couple times.
He restarted Waves like 6 times in a row, and
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? I appreciate. He basically did what J.K. Simmons does in this movie, where he's like, start, stop. That was wrong. Go back. And he just does that. He did the exact same thing as J.K. Simmons to himself.
Oh, no, not because it was wrong, just because he liked the drop in Waves.
Was that what it was?
Yeah.
I thought that he was dissatisfied with something.
No. He was just like loves the drop in Waves so much.
That's
that
very
he was
funny.
Like, let's hear it again.
I forgot about that. That's really
Yeah.
funny. Fucking praise Jesus, everyone.
I don't know. I hope Kanye's doing all right. I don't know.
Me too.
The last line, like one of the last lines on Saint Pablo is "Don't worry about me, I'm fine." And like fucking
I do worry about him, and I don't think he's fine.
freezing cold take. That was 2014, and the 7 years after that were not kind.
Yeah, I know. Kanye, if you're listening, I hope you're doing all right.
Man. I hope he makes more interesting music. I think,
And I hope you stop supporting people that suck.
Oh, he stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah, he tweeted something like, "I'm not going to do politics anymore."
Great. That's a good move for him.
Yeah. I don't know. I cannot begin to understand a Kanye West.
No.
Is there a way of doing a Kanye? Could we do the 40-minute My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy music video he did?
Oh, the Runaway video?
Yeah. The one that's like has all the other clips.
Oh, it'd be like, wait, what, we were talking about another like really long. Oh, it'd be Interstellar 555 versus Runaway.
This would be such a niche Patreon episode.
I kind of want to do it. For listeners, Interstellar 555 is the music video that goes along with Discovery by Daft Punk, and it's very good.
It's very good. It's a cool anime video.
Yeah. All right, we got to wrap it up.
Yeah, this has been a long. I did not expect us to talk this long about drums. It's 11 p.m. I'm exhausted. Man, we got to go.
All right.
Thanks guys for listening. We will be back with a cool kind of different episode next time. Subscribe for more of this cool shit.
Yep.
Give us good ratings and
stay tuned for the next episode.
Review.
Oh,
That's the other
review.
one. I shouldn't have
Rate,
done them out of
review, and
order.
subscribe.
I shouldn't have done them out of order.
You just got to say it as a block. Just get it
Rate
in there.
us. Give us good ratings. Give us good reviews. Subscribe to the
Good
podcast.
subscribes.
Thanks for listening. And goodbye forever.
Bye forever.